Hey darling, Danetha here, creator of Money and Mimosas and the host of the Money, Sex, Power podcast. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about abundant mindset. I'm going to share what exactly is an abundant mindset and why you need an abundant mindset in order to be a money magnet. To start us off, let's start with what is an abundant mindset. As you've learned from my previous mindset videos, I'll link them in the description below and somewhere along here on the screen. Our mindset is comprised of thoughts, and these thoughts are the drivers of our actions, which produce our results, which then reinforces our beliefs. So our belief system is actually the core of our mindset. It's where all things come to be. Our belief system determines what thoughts we have, what actions we take, and then the results that we produce. And there's just this continual feedback loop, this continuous feedback loop based upon our belief system. So when you have an abundant mindset, the fundamental belief that's driving this abundant mindset is there's more than enough to go around. The fundamental belief related to an abundant mindset is that there is more than enough to go around. And so when you have that fundamental belief, then you start to think thoughts that reflect that belief. And your thoughts can be things like, oh, that's a cool opportunity. I want to pursue that. Or I'm really happy for her. I'm glad she got that opportunity. She's perfect for it. They are thoughts that reflect the fact that there is more than enough for everyone to be rich, more than enough for everyone to live an abundant life, to be prosperous, for us to live in peace. And that is the core of an abundant mindset, is that belief that there is more than enough to go around. And when you have that belief, that means that you know that the opportunities that are meant for you, no one can take them from you, because those opportunities are for you, just like there are opportunities that are for other people that no one can take from those other people. And you also fundamentally believe with that belief that when someone else is prosperous, that benefits the entire society. When you're prosperous, I benefit. When I'm prosperous, you benefit. And you have that, when you have that fundamental belief, you operate differently. You see situations differently and you see opportunities differently. In fact, you see opportunities that other people don't see because you know that there is more than enough opportunities to go around. Now, I want to be clear about this mindset because there are some schools of thought, other money mindset teachers that will preach this idea that you just have to live in this state of positivity and good vibes only, and basically head in the clouds type of mentality in order to always come from a place of abundance. You can't ever think about anything negative. Otherwise, that's going to damage your ability to be in the flow of abundance, and you aren't going to be a money magnet because you're thinking negative thoughts. Here's the thing. Positive, negative thoughts don't exist. Abundant, scarcity minded thoughts exist, but there aren't any positive or negative thoughts as it relates to money, because you can think thoughts that some people may think are negative, but it's really that you're being realistic. When I talk about an abundant money mindset, I am not saying that we live in some Disneyland, pink cotton candy type of life where we are completely divorced of reality and completely unaware of the oppressive economic systems that disproportionately affect certain groups of people and allow certain groups of people to experience prosperity on the backs of others. We are very much aware of what's happening in the world. We're very much grounded in reality. And with an abundant mindset, you choose to see things differently. You choose to still see the opportunities that could present itself. You still choose to see that there's more than enough to go around, despite what the system is operating as, because the system generally operates from a scarcity minded place. And despite what others, perhaps in your life or others that you observe, are operating from, which they are likely operating from a scarcity minded place. And the reason why most economic systems are oppressive and there is immense inequity is because the individuals within the system, the majority of them are operating from the scarcity-minded place, which creates this oppressive economic system. So we are completely aware of the reality, and we are choosing to see things differently. And the more of us that choose to see things differently and operate differently and live differently, the more we can affect a change that allows for more folks to experience an abundant lifestyle. I want to share an example from my own life to help paint this picture. So at the beginning of COVID-19 in 2020, when everyone was freaking out, one of my clients also freaked out and decided that they were going to cut all contractor contracts. Mine was one of those. So for my company, we were earning $1,600 per month from this particular client. And they decided 2 weeks before the next monthly payment was supposed to come in that they were going to cut the contract. And there wasn't anything I could do about it. It was fine. It was really, I mean, everyone was going through COVID-19 and everyone was trying to be accommodating, right? I wasn't going to fight them on it. And so overnight, we lost that revenue. And when I got the email from the client, I took some time to think about it. Took about 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half to reflect on it. I had some other work to do, and then I took a solid chunk of time to sit, reflect, and think about next steps. And the first thought that came to mind was, well, okay, let me let me recalculate my financial calculations and see where I'm at. So the first step was ground in reality. What does this mean for me financially and for the company financially? And then the next thought was, okay, what do you want to do with this information? There are a few options. One of those options was to cut my own expenses. We had a reduction in income, a reduction in revenue, and I had contractors that I had hired and money that was going out. So maybe I needed to cut back, which would have been totally justified. The other option was to not do anything. So there's a reduction in revenue, reduction in income, and I can just keep things as is. And then this third option pops into my mind. I've been training myself to think more abundantly for years now. And so this idea came to me of, what if you flip this completely on its head, Danetha? You just had your income reduced. Why don't you turn around and hire someone? Everyone else is panicking, reducing their expenses, cutting contractors left and right. Why don't you hire a contractor and completely go against the grain and practice abundant thinking? And so that's what I did, which is crazy, right? But I'm someone that loves going against the grain as is, and I love any opportunity that presents itself to me where I can put my own teachings into practice. And so I decided to hire someone. When I had my income reduced, I went ahead, turned around, and hired someone despite what everyone else was doing, despite all this fear and scarcity-minded approach to what was happening. And that's not to say that my client wasn't justified in making that decision, but it definitely came from a place of fear because they hadn't had any revenue reduced during that time. They were just bracing themselves for what they thought was going to happen, and they chose to make a decision based out of fear. Totally justified, yet and still from a scarcity minded place. And what happened for me was really interesting. And so once I decided to make that decision, I hired someone that I had been thinking about hiring anyway, but I wasn't planning on hiring that person for another few months. And I went ahead and hired this person and got the ball rolling. And what was interesting was immediately I was put into this flow of creativity because now I'm in hyper aware state of, okay, you just had revenue reduce. Now you're increasing your expenses. You've got to figure out how to make money to make up this difference. And so now all of these ideas are flowing to me of how I can make that happen. And the money from those ideas, I implemented a few of them, two of them. One in particular panned out really well. Those tangible financial results, though, didn't come for another 3 months. So I was immediately put into the state of flow, being in the flow of abundance. And then a few months later, that's when the tangible results came through. And I share that as an example because it was a clear fork in the road for me. And there have been many forks in the road where I've had the choice of either coming from a place of scarcity or coming from a place of abundance. I haven't always chosen abundance. Sometimes I've chosen scarcity. And honestly, I've paid for it later. When I come from a place of abundance, when I choose to make a decision from that space, it requires faith, it requires trust, and the money doesn't always show up right away. Sometimes it has, but oftentimes it doesn't. But what does show up right away is this flow of creativity and this immediate sense of, things are going to be okay. Things are going to be good. Because when you continue to practice abundant living, continue to hone your own abundant mindset, you start to develop this inner self confidence, this inner motivation, this inner glow where you know that the shit can hit the fan and you will figure it out. The more times you give yourself the opportunity to figure shit out, you will increase your confidence because you know whatever life throws at you, you are going to make it work. And that is what practicing an abundant living is all about. The definition of practicing an abundant living is making financial decisions from a place of soul expansion. Abundant living is making financial decisions from a place of soul expansion. And so when I made that decision to hire someone despite having my own income reduced, I immediately thought of ideas. Ideas came to me that allowed me to expand the business so that I could make up the difference in the income that was just lost and find a way to make even more. And and when you continue to practice that, the more the easier it will be to get into that state of being able to come up with ideas. When you first make a scary decision like that, because it is scary, it is risky. Again, we are grounded in reality. I'm not here with my heads in the clouds thinking, oh, everything's going to be fine. No, there was some real trepidation related to that decision because I didn't know if it was going to pan out well. But so when you do it the first time, it's going to feel uncomfortable, it's going to feel scary, and the results may not pan out right away. And so you have to brace yourself for that too. But the more you practice it, the more you give yourself the opportunity to trust yourself, the more you hone your own instincts, because you don't just make decisions willy-nilly when you're coming from an abundant mindset. I made that decision from a place of groundedness, a place of clarity, and I didn't just make that decision off the cuff, right? I took some time to consider what the implications were. So when you practice that, you will become better at practicing an abundant living, and you'll more easily get into the flow of abundance. So your abundant mindset, it creates opportunities for you to feel a soul expansion. It also fosters creativity and inspiration. It fosters these beliefs that you can make it work, you will make it work because you've proven to yourself that you've done it before, and it develops this inner confidence. And so, what are some of the thoughts that come about when you consciously practice an abundant mindset and practice abundant living? One of the thoughts that you'll start thinking more consistently is, let's see what happens. That was a thought that came to me when I made that decision, when I decided to hire a contractor. It's like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And we'll go with the flow, right? You want to be in the flow of abundance, and the flow of abundance requires trust and faith. And that thought of, well, let's see what happens, will start to more consistently be in your mind. Another thought that will start to percolate more often is, that's interesting. I wonder how that may apply to me. These are thoughts that will come up when you're talking to folks, or maybe watching a documentary or doing research on your business, and perhaps looking in an industry that's outside of your own industry. You'll start to find everything around you to be interesting, and you'll be excited to learn more about it because you know that there's going to be a way that you can apply it to your own life, to your own business. And that type of aura is what money is attracted to. That is how you become a money magnet. Money loves creativity, it loves inspiration, it loves joy. The more you can align with those types of feelings, the more you'll attract riches and be in the flow of abundance. The third thing that comes up is the third thought, rather, that you'll start thinking consistently is I wonder what the lesson is for me. I wonder what the lesson here is for me. And this is coming from a place of curiosity. So when you proactively, consciously practice abundant living, hone your abundant mindset, you'll start to embody the essence of curiosity, meaning that even if you don't necessarily agree with, say, someone's conclusion of whatever they're thinking, you'll be curious about the thought process that got them to that conclusion. You'll ask questions about the thought process and you'll realize that there is a lesson in there for you. I firmly believe that every moment, every day is an opportunity for us to learn, to be inspired, something along those lines. And so the more you practice abundant thinking, practice abundant living, you will become curious about everything and everyone around you because you realize there's a lesson here for me that can make me more of a money magnet, can get me more into the flow of abundance. And that is today's video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who you think may also like it. And if you want more money tips like this, please head on over to moneymimosas.com. There you'll find my paid membership program called Money Makers. In that program, I share lots of lessons and tutorials on everything that you and I should have learned about money in school, but we didn't. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.